Thank you for inviting me first to the organizers, because this is an amazing meeting, and I can really learn. I have learned a lot from the morning, and everything that we can discuss here between different disciplines. It could be interesting for education. I think I come from pediatrician. I am a neonatologist, so my own question, my personal question was, how can I help the infant when they have a problem in health? Not only when they are in my clinic, particularly a place, but when they go home, they go to school. How can I do something that can help for what they can succeed outside of the health problem? And how can we do design intervention that are useful for them? So this is the reason I'm going to show you some experience that I have. I think I just focus my talk in more than a discussion, more than the methodology. So I'm going to start. Okay, so the relationship between education and health is important for early cognitive development, and there are many studies that prove this, try to support this relationship, this positive relationship. For instance, I want to give you just two examples that come from United States, and there is a link between to be able to arrive to college and mortality. So the first study is done by people, I think, from UNESCO, and they can show, that in adults you have more mortality for people who have not. Here you have more mortality or longer mortality when you have a few years of training or schooling, and then you reduce dramatically. You don't reduce a lot between this high school, complete high school, and less than complete high school, but you have a reduction here between the experience in college. If you have college, you have the risk for mortality reduced significantly. Similarly, for infant mortality, you have a similar reduction in the risk. For instance, when the mother education arrived to college, if you want, this is a map of risk of mortality, and the dark red is more higher mortality in the proportion of the mortality when you have less than 12 years of schooling versus when you have 4 years of college. And you see that it's true that there are some states in the United States that this relationship is particularly big. It's more than twice. That the mortality for the college is reduced at least less than half. But if you look at all the plan in any one of the states, the relationship is 1. So we can say that in any state, the probability or the risk of mortality is bigger for the people who have not finished the college formation. So these two information are important for the development. I mean, in the sense that the relationship between education and health, you can start at the fetus. We can start working with the mother education during the pregnancy. So during the pregnancy, it's very important to develop some notion about how important it is to be educated about what is a good habit or what is bad for the baby that is in the womb. And then after that, we can promote not only the preparation at the school, but also at the preschool, and also about the birth, for instance. So I will present you two examples for this talk. One, I think more than give you a sort of review of our study, I just want to focus on two particular clinical situations. The first one is prematurity. And why prematurity? Because in the preterm, when you have when you have born many very in advance that whether the full pregnancy is finished, you can find that when you evaluate this baby at 13 months of age after birth, you can find that only 17% has a typical mental development. So the most baby has a sort of delay, and we don't know exactly, we really don't have a good intervention to how to manage that and arrive to a better way to train and to recover this problem that you can have at the 30 months. So, and the other case that I will show you some data is that in the reading failure, when you have problem in the reading, we agree that there 10% of the population roughly have the reading failure that the biological origin. So in this case, we have this failure is related with what happened before. Before going to school, we have an early language delay that maybe we have now. We are not aware how important it is to detect this, and we don't know, we don't agree, but we are doing research about what is the intervention in these cases. What happens if I know that I have a risk in a very, very early age, for instance, at birth? So I will start with the one. Prematurity is the case, it's a very important clinical condition where you have, I think it's 15 million of infants are born premature in the world every year. So we have a lot of circumstances like that, and it's the main avoidable causes of death under the 5 years. So this is an important clinical opportunity. But what happened with these babies? These babies are born before the pregnancy is finished. So we have here the circumstance that Ghislaine talked in the morning. No, we have this brain that is highly immature and is exposed to. It has to learn something. So in this case, we have a lot of questions. What happened with the external stimulation? Should we start, for instance, in the neonatology room, in a unit, we have to talk to the infant. It's good to talk to the infant, how much I talk to the infant, etc. So we have a lot of questions about that. And what happened, what are the consequences of that for education? I think we are not very clear. So when you have this question, we start to do some sort of, we try to get, to design some sort of intervention. What we do in this case? I just have to try to start research in order to test what is the correct intervention for every case. So I will give you some examples. For instance, this one, when you have at the age of newborn, when the preterm is after birth, you can say, okay, my situation is that the baby is so immature in any system. So what we can do, we can do clinical support for sure, but maybe the approach has been to mimic the womb environment. If the environment in the womb was dark, so we have to do to respect some sort of darkness in the outside of the womb. So for instance, this is just one example that may be related with this data, say that in order to respect the circadian rhythm, we have to we cover the eyes of the baby just with the black band. That is very mechanical, but it's just to respect the circadian rhythm that the baby had in the womb. We have to replicate outside. So another thing is that we explored what happened later. What happened when the newborn was preterm, but he is reaching 6 or 12 months, and we explored. Well, I will not show you specifically the experiment, but our data say that at this moment in the speech, what happened with the speech? The baby, because the baby was born before, they can start before, they can learn what is the native language before. This was the question. And our data support the idea that the speech, at least in the phonology aspect, at least related with the sound of speech, with the phoneme, or with the rhythm of the speech, the infant are not accelerate this learning. So they wait for the age that full term do it, and then when they're enough mature, they learn this aspect. But it's not the case for every system in preterm. For instance, we have another studies, and other people also have done this, provided evidence that about the 6 or 10 months, the visual and social system, they do accelerate. They does indeed. They are more faster. The stereoacuity, the depth, when you the deep visual perception is accelerated than appears before, and also the recognition of the gaze following, follow the gaze of the other people is accelerated in preterm. So the situation of the preterm give you a complex model where some systems are sensitive and are looking for stimulus in the external environment in order to provide learning, but another system has just to wait for enough maturation to do that. So if we do this, what can we do with this information? Maybe this is just speculative, but there are some proposal by Takao Hirsch that say that we have critical periods, as Patricia Kuhl talked in the morning, no? We have this critical period where I have to learn, for instance, language, but something happened in the preterm that some ability are accelerated, so developed before, and some of them are going to be delayed. I have to wait in order to find out. For instance, this is the case what I told you, the native language phonology is somewhere here, and you have, you respect the maturation. When you are enough mature, you learn this, but you can accelerate the learning of visual and social learning that is important for you. So what we do with that, I think at the end, my conclusion is that this approach is needed that we, in multidisciplinary view, and we have indeed, we still have 17% of infant preterm with the typical development, and the other 83, I'm sorry, 83% with the sort of problem in this mental development. So we have, I think in this situation, we have more question than answer. If you ask it to me, if my mother say, I have a preterm baby, what I can do, and I really can give you information, and this information, hopefully it's not to transfer, but it could be the basis of the solid transfer. I mean, it's very important that we can transfer something that is based in empirical data or in scientific data. So we need this. I think the proposal is not an answer. You do or you that. Really what we have to do is a multidisciplinary research agenda in order to select really what we have to do, which is the intervention, the correct intervention for this time. So I will go to the other case. You told me if I'm late. And the reading difficulty has Audrey Azoulay, the director of the UNESCO, saw that this is a crisis because in this inform of the UNESCO, you can read that there are 117 million of people, adolescents and children. They don't achieve the minimum proficiency for reading and also for math. So this is a problem that is not depending on the access to the school. This is an important factor, but if you see here the low access and the low quality of education, maybe from these two, the low quality of education is the most important one. If you see here, this is just different countries, but in every country you can see the same. The infant who fail, they are at the school. In the primary, they go to primary school and they go to the secondary school. So the most of them, it's not because they don't go to school, it's just that the quality of the education has a problem. So, well, this is a problem, but 1%, maybe this, I mean, I don't know how you do that. So, but this problem is more, I think the people who do, the policymaker has to take care of this for sure, but they also have to take care about how can we implement this quality. What is the quality? What is the education of good quality for different countries? I think we have to do more research in order to decide what is better for our local cultural situation. So 1% of this failure, this 17 million of people, is biological, and from them we have problems like 10% maybe is dyslexia, and another, there are also health problems, for instance, directly health problem. I mean, deafness. Deafness is very frequent. It's about 10% of the infants who go to school, they have just deafness because they have recurrent infection of the auditory system. It's the recurrence of the auditory system that generate a level of deafness. So what I tell you now, that this dyslexia is 10% all over the world. We have different type of frequency, but you can find dyslexia in any language. And what we can do here, I think in this moment, what we do is this. We expect that the infant go to school, they fail in reading when they are in Chile at least, and I think in other countries the same. The first year you say, oh, don't worry, we have to wait. So we wait, and then the diagnosis arrives very late, right after the second year. So we know now that we can find some sign that can inform you about that maybe you will have the reading difficulties. For instance, at the fetus, you can ask for family history. The family history is very, very correlated with what happened. If you have a family where everybody have problem reading, but most probably you are the high probability to have. So in this case, what we can do, I think just to be alert. I don't know what you can do with the fetus. So I can read something to the fetus, and this intervention we have to work together. Okay, we have to work together on that, together in this point. At the newborn, we also have, maybe here you have people from Finland, I'm not really sure, they will present some data, and they have also problem in EEG, the detection. You can do in EEG, electrophysiology, and you can see that this baby have problem to differentiate, for instance, phoneme, ba to da, or whatever. So in this case, you have more probability to, if you have this plus this, the probability that you have a failure in reading increase. So you can also design some action. I think in this case, we don't have an intervention also for newborn. If you have problem, family problem plus the detection problem in the detection of the phoneme, what did you do? I think the intervention is not very clear either. Maybe they have some proposal like rhythm, and another one that you can discuss after. So another thing is that when you have 2 years, you can look for speech comprehension difficulty and also increase, for instance, stimulate the vocabulary. Or at the preschool, you have more sign, and the infant can have, the children, can have a problem in letter knowledge, rapid naming, persistent late talkers, and phoneme awareness. And in this case, maybe we can design some game and some, especially directed to increase, to train, if you want, to train this type of difficulties. So what is this one? I think at least in this, all these signs that you can find in the children, it constitutes an early speech delay. If we find this, we can intervene here. Maybe we cannot intervene at the fetus, but we can intervene here for the moment with some approaches. So the last thing I will do is that we try to do that. We try to do this. This is the only experiment that I'm going to show you. We did software technology, because in Chile we have one educator for every 20 or 40 children. So you don't have 20 hours per day to do some intervention. So we look for something that it was cheaper and cost efficient for this goal. So we designed a software. I don't know if I can do that, but I don't know how to play this, but anyway. This is just to tell you that with this, in this game, we do something like that. Sorry if this is a little bit bad, but in this case, it's a play where you have an educator that supports the infant, and the infant is just, you ask them to say, okay, this is a, I don't know, I would say a frequent word, but they are infrequent. You have, this is a dog, I don't know how you say that. This is the dog. Press the dog, and if you do it this, we do feedback positive, and then you teach another thing. This is another type of animal, so you press here, so then you ask for recognition, where is the dog, so you have to press here, and then you ask to the infant vocalize. You say, okay, the animal left, so call the animal, call the dog. So the infant say, dog, etc. So in this case, we want to stimulate the increase the vocabulary because we use infrequent word. We also do it the same with the sound of the letter. Instead of animal, we put this is an M, this is an S, etc. And also we wanted to promote this vocalization. So our result shows this was a pre-post design with the control group, the type of the waiting list, and this complete intervention take 2 months. So we found, this is just one, there I want to show you just 2 results. The first one is that, okay, in communication, in this particular test, that this ISQ, in communication, if you want this group, I don't know if you see that the sort of dotted color. In this color, you have the experimental group, and the control group is more clear. So you have the difference in communication. You gain more. Every baby gain, every children gain in this period, but you gain more when the people belong to the experimental. And also in the vocabulary comprehension by the 3 year in children with 3 years old, because we also do it in 2 years old, we also find that you have, again, a larger gain for content works, for vocabulary. So what we can do with that, I think it's just a fast way that we need in order to protect the relationship between education and health, from the fetus to the college, if you want. We need increase, of course, the mother education, the high quality education at the school, and also the high quality education on health. The children has to know, and the mother has to know, and the educator for sure has to know, is that we need to know what is healthy for you. For instance, nap. What is how long I can take a nap? But what we need, finally, is an integrated research agenda. We cannot do something for education without this is my opinion. I think we need to talk together and inform each other what is better and what is reliable to do it. And also invite all the people. I think open science, open education, and open health is the cue. Because we can have a lovely experiment at the laboratory, but when we go to the school, the educators say, but this will not work, this neither. So we have to really do the science that we do. We have to generate the question and the hypothesis with other people, with people that have different type of expertise. So finally, as in the morning say, the director of UNESCO, Madame Audrey, I don't remember exactly, I cannot pronounce the last name, that we need to work like that. We have an idea, laboratory of ideas, and this transfer. I think we don't have to transfer everything we have. I think we have to transfer something that is really made in the basis of this agenda group. And it also should be sustainable in time. It doesn't have any sense if we have something that works for winter in Chile and then doesn't work anymore. So thank you. I would also like to thank you again to our people, and especially to Stanislas Dehaene and also to Ghislaine Dehaene, because their work has deeply inspired our research about science, health, and education in Latin America. So.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Fantastic. Thank you very much. Donc, de l'importance de préparer les conditions pour l'apprentissage, lever les obstacles et remédier et faire de la recherche autour de tout ça. Question?
You observe some differences between young boys and young girls in your experience, especially with dyslexia?
I'm sorry, I didn't...
Differences between boys and girls.
Yeah. Well, in dyslexia, well, maybe this is a question for Stan. for people who is working in dyslexia. We say that, yeah, the dyslexia is more frequent in boys than in girls when the dyslexia is diagnosed, and also in the early delay. Early speech delay is more frequent for boys than for girls. There is a difference, if you want to, there are the cultural differences in the frequency in different languages. For instance, when the language is very transparent, for like Spanish or Finnish, apparently this relationship is more close, but it's always more frequent in boys than in girls. I don't know if I answered your question, yeah? Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't listen very well.
Question?
Vous pouvez me parler en français si vous voulez.
Bonjour, je suis enseignante spécialisée. Je voulais savoir s'il y avait des programmes éducatifs qui avaient été faits aussi auprès des parents pour qu'ils comprennent aussi et ou même où on leur parle du développement du cerveau pour qu'ils se rendent compte et qu'ils comprennent aussi. Est-ce qu'il y a déjà, vous savez s'il y avait déjà eu des programmes qui ont été faits dans ce sens-là, même au niveau alimentaire ou au sommeil voilà.
Ils sont dirigés. Can I say in English? I don't know. The technology the software that is directed to parents, no? To the mother, to the teacher. Yeah, I think they have. There are many information that you can transfer. I'm not really sure, but in Chile, you have something that you use it for the people in the situation of poverty. And they explain you with videos, for instance, how you have to talk to the infant, how you try to get face-to-face contact and to put attention to the children and to the infant, indeed, with very, very young babies, and also for instance, don't use the cell phone when you are interacting with the infant. It's something that is very easy to implement. And you say, when you talk to the infant, you put your cell phone here, and then you can talk again. So you can do this exercise. It's not easy. The people, it's not easy to let the phone, even if you are not doing nothing, you have the reflex to go to the phone every time to time. So also for nutrition, also for sleep, so you can do it. But I think at least in my country, we have not the real validation, an experimental validation of that, but maybe they will have, for sure, the information to the parent, the training the parent and educator, it should work. Maybe what we have to do, can I say something that is related with that? Maybe that we have to recognize is that the knowledge is not forever. I mean, we have a knowledge, any game that we do and anything that we can recommend to the infant, we have to say this is for now, you know, because probably in 5 years or in 10 years, you will say, well, this was okay, or maybe this was wrong, and you have to change. So the mentality of the people has to be updated. We have educators and people who take care of the health and education of the baby should be updated. And they should be critical, so they cannot take everything that they listen in the TV or in the media, but only this that is strong enough to be transferred in a safety way.
Another last question, and then we have une autre dernière question, et après on a une petite discussion avec nos autres.
Excusez-moi. Une autre question. Vous avez dit qu'il y avait un facteur de gène entre la maman qui pouvait expliquer les apparitions de dyslexie. Et je voulais savoir s'il y avait un autre facteur qui pourrait expliquer l'apparition de dyslexie. Est-ce que c'est par rapport à l'alimentation, par rapport à l'environnement ou...
Well, if I well understand, I think I'm not the expert in dyslexia, and maybe Stan and other people can answer this, but the specific one. But for sure, this is the people who are working in dyslexia specifically, that maybe you can never recover from dyslexia. I don't know if I'm saying something that is very bad, but it's a disease that can need support during all the formation, during all the schooling age. And in this case, if you train the phonologic awareness, it should help you. Maybe some children will be more benefited by that, and the other not, depending on the deepness of the property of the biology. But for sure, I think if you say, for instance, if I say that dyslexia is biology, it's biological origin, so I have nothing to do. Something what can I do? So I think we can do something in every case, even if it is the main factor is biological. And for sure, there are a percentage of children that have difficulty, that are misdiagnosis, like dyslexia, and it's not dyslexia, and this infant for sure can benefit from a different type of intervention. We try to do the intervention even in the case that the origin of the disease is biological. So,
Moi, j'ai noté beaucoup d'aspects de ce que vous avez dit. Ce que vous avez dit jusqu'ici, c'est très difficile. Merci beaucoup pour cette session très, très riche d'aspects pratiques et aussi de questions autour de tout l'environnement de l'enfant, de toute sa vie. L'éducation ne commence pas à l'école. On vous a entendu parler, on avait déjà entendu Ghislaine ce matin parler de bébés, de prématurés. On prépare l'apprentissage en préparant les conditions autour de l'enfant. Et grâce aussi aux questions qu'on a entendues, on a entendu parler du rôle des familles et du coup du rôle des parents impliqués dans cette préparation des apprentissages des enfants. Je vous laisserai commenter sur ça. Deux autres aspects qui m'ont paru extrêmement importants sont l'importance d'identifier des interventions à bas coût, dormir. Mieux manger, ce n'est pas nécessairement à bas coût, mais par rapport à d'autres interventions, ça l'est. Diagnostiquer, prévenir, créer des conditions idéales autour de l'enfant pour obtenir des résultats qui peuvent être potentiellement extrêmement important. Voilà le petit qui voudrait faire un petit sommeil autour de l'enfant pour avoir un gros impact. Donc identifier pour la recherche, et je viens à ma question, identifier pour la recherche aussi des priorités. On ne pourra pas tout faire en même temps et tout faire dès le début, mais identifier des interventions qui peuvent être potentiellement à bas coût et avec un impact énorme sur des populations. On a parlé de populations pauvres, on n'a pas parlé de populations avec des troubles de l'apprentissage ou autres, mais en réalité, les interventions dont vous avez parlé peuvent bénéficier potentiellement bien au-delà de l'enfant qui vit en situation de pauvreté ou avec handicap. Ils peuvent être des interventions qui après vont bénéficier tout le monde. Comment on fait ce genre de recherche? Vous avez été extrêmement honnête. C'est pas rare des scientifiques, c'est normal, tous les scientifiques sont très honnêtes, mais on oublie souvent de souligner combien on a encore besoin de recherche et combien vos résultats sont une première pierre qui montre l'intérêt, l'importance de faire encore de la recherche. Et j'ai remarqué que tous les deux, vous avez mis l'accent sur l'importance pour cette recherche à venir d'impliquer les enseignants pour que les interventions soient valides, soient acceptables dans la classe, aient du sens en classe, aient du sens pour le système d'apprentissage. Comment on fait pour mener ce type de recherche? Comment on travaille en tant que chercheur avec le monde de l'éducation pour produire la recherche et après pour arriver à faire ce transfert dont parlait Marcel?
If I understood, because I was brave enough to get... No, well, I think the first thing is to engage the teachers and to engage the principals. This was my main difficulty in the beginning, is that they say, oh, it's great you're coming to do this research, but you cannot change anything. And then I heard many times, oh, but my students are not rats, you cannot do experiments on them. And my answer was always, well, you're always doing experiments on them, but you're not logging anything, and you're not planning anything with regard to the experiments. So I think the engagement of the teacher, once we got the teacher as part of the team, as a peer, things started to move much more smoothly. I also think that the notion that you can do much better with the same resources, that if we move things around, if we just maybe move this class from here to there, have sleeping, because all the children are sleeping anyway, but they're sleeping and being repressed. Right, the teachers see sleep as the enemy. Right, they always all do this, right? And even the teacher, I mean, if the kids are sleeping and there's more time, more free time, maybe the teacher should take a nap as well, because they are also sleep deprived. They also have children at home. So I think we just must see this as in a different way. I know that in Finland, for example, there's less classroom time, right, and more time for other activities. If we were more efficient in presenting contents with more charisma, more emotion, more, as we say, the Yoruba word, ashe, positive energy, because of course it's not, because and this would increase metacognition as well, because the children usually are, at least the ones that I interact with in Brazil, they see the school as a prison. They see the school as the enemy. They see the teacher as the enemy. And then if it's like this, it's very hard. By the time they're 18, when they start to realize that they need that, they're out of it.
Hello? Yeah, for instance, yeah, I agree completely with you. It's very important to listen to the educator. I think at the beginning we say, we did this tablet study because before we did another study, and we say, okay, this worked very well, so we have to implement in your classroom. But in this case, we use the monitor screen. So the people say, it's too dangerous. I will not use the monitor screen. So even if it is work, exactly the same intervention that we do in a tablet, doesn't work because it was in a screen monitor, because we are waiting that it was a groupal. A lot of children can interact and answer. So it was big. This was the person. So I think in this case, even if the initiative, or even if you have evidence that does work, if you cannot implement it, if it is not well, if they don't feel that it could be good for them, that will not work. In the same case, for instance, we will, when the infant here, when the children do a good response, we will do a positive feedback. And the positive feedback was gloves and claps and something like that. So one of the teachers suggests us, why don't you ask to the parent to make a video? They will do the clapping and it. So we say, great idea. So we asked to the parent, if you want, you can do a selfie or a video, and they say, yes, you can, in a very personalized way. So I think this was really successful. I think this is, even the people say, this is more familiar, more personalized, and this can have more possibility to help. The possibility to help is something that we have to transfer, and we have to share with the educators. So this is my, I usually would want to know what the educator think about the intervention that we do.
Can I add something? In our experience, when we had a paper that had only researchers and no teachers, and we came back to the school to present the results, they were all like they were congratulating us, but they were all also seeing it as, oh, good for you. They were not saying, oh, this is great for us, we can learn from this. But when they saw a teacher being part of it, and now she wants to do a master's, it really changed. Then they all like, I can do this too. I can also get a master's, but if I start, can you help me do some experiments in my school? And I think this is, it really changes the perspective when people, it's the why, you know, this joke of why IIFM, right? What's in it for me? And I think as long as, when they see that there's something for them, when the teachers see that they can really benefit even professionally, because if they get a master's, they will get a better salary, which is something we should talk about, right? So I think, you know, then things start to get better.
This is something about poverty, because we work with a very, very low income population. They're extremely poor. So when we go there, we were very careful that don't do nothing that can offend them, or they will feel used, or they will feel this and that. But you know, at least in our population, that were very even dangerous for the people who goes there. The people were so happy, and they say, you know, we're very happy that even if they don't really understand every detail of the research, they say, well, why did you come here? Because we are a dangerous population, but if you come here, that means that I'm meaningful. I can help you, and I can participate of that. They want to know about the result, that it was amazing. And we can explain, and they were so happy. So I think, a priori, poverty is not, we cannot say that this is, maybe it's only in different countries, different, but I think we cannot say that poverty itself is something that will generate people that is not motivated for science, to know what can we do to improve the education of their infants.
A quick question. Have you ever tried, and then I translate in French, have you ever tried participative research with teachers or even with children, taking a note of their sleeping habits and providing the data for your research, being actively implied in the research in this way? La question en français, peut-être vous l'avez déjà traduite, mais c'est... Est-ce qu'il y a de la recherche participative qui est faite dans ces domaines, par exemple sur le sommeil, avec les élèves et avec les enseignants?
Yes, in the experiments in which we were doing with the same children for 6 weeks, we encouraged them to keep dream diaries, and we got a lot of engagement in the beginning, but then it faded away. It would help a lot if we could give incentives. In Brazil, believe it or not, it is forbidden to give any monetary incentive for research. So all the research that is done with voluntaries is voluntary. And that's why in most papers, the people that participate in the studies are the friends of the researchers. But I saw that this could work if we could give some other kind of incentive.
Une dernière question de la salle, du public?
Mention one thing with no question, because I didn't have time to talk about exercise, and I think I made a very brief mention that maybe didn't make the point clear. Both sleep and exercise help to clear the brain from beta amyloid protein. Beta amyloid protein causes Alzheimer's disease, but in fact, you could see sleep and exercise as a detoxification of the brain. So in that sense, we should always have it. It's almost like it's like you should always wash your brain from toxins before you learn, and after you learn, you need it to consolidate. And now this is becoming clear that the molecular pathways are becoming clear. So I think this we really need to change the way we see sleep and exercise, given this knowledge that is now present, that was not present 10 years ago, but now it is.
And I have a question for Siddhartha, because you say that the nap is good, 30 minutes is good.
More than.
But if you have a very long nap, it's good? So because the mother always say that my infant, I don't want to make a nap because in the night they will not sleep.
Yeah, too much of everything is bad, right? Too much of anything is bad. So if you have too much sleep, you can get sleep inertia, and you become very sleepy, very drowsy. And I think it has to do with when you interrupt the sleep. It's very different if you have a full cycle and you end up, when you leave REM sleep, you always wake up. You have a micro-awakening. So at night we have micro-awakenings of 4 or 5 times. When you're young, you don't notice, but when you get older, you start to notice. But the point is that if you let the cycle be completed, then you feel really refreshed, right? You feel like your brain is clear, ready to go. But if you interrupt in the transition between N2 and N3 to entering slow wave sleep, or in the middle of slow wave sleep, you may get really drowsy. And then you may actually get we saw some kids that had less than half an hour sleep, some of them got worse. And this has been reported in the lab, so this is not a surprise.
Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. C'était très riche, très intéressant. Merci.